Just listen to this. That doesn't sound like spring. I don't know what it is. It is absolutely wonderful morning here in north of Yorkshire. It's about plus 18 degrees. It's first time. Got all my summer attire out. It's wonderful. And I am, as you guessed guys, I am in woods, and today's mission is to go and forage some wild greens. They'll be the first ones of this season, and I'm planning to make wild greens kimchi, which is absolutely wonderful. My name is Christina. I originally come from Latvia. I've been born in a family who are really passionate about foraging, wild food, fermentation, and all sorts of wonderful things. What was an absolute norm in our family to do all these things because it was food. And so a big part of my childhood was foraging, selling all the goodies such as mushrooms, all the wild berries in a forest you can find, making jams and things like that, and we would sell them in a market. It was a big part of our life, and that's something I'm really truly proud of, and I'm also excited about it because I've decided to share this with you. My instinct is saying that by the end of that river there's a lovely patch of wild garlic, which I already managed to sense the other day when I was walking, you know, that woof of garlicky air. So let's go have a look. Alright, it's gonna be very wet feet. Officially wet ankle. Woo! Look, there's first signs of wild garlic. Look at that bank! Oh, I'm so excited seeing that bank. Definitely. So go get out of my bag. I'm planning to not take too much, roughly maximum of 300 grams of mixed wild greens. And I already spotted the first shoots of wild nettles or stinging nettles, the naughty ones which like to sting. Yes, so I have a mix of wild garlic, stinging nettles, also if I can get my hands on sorrel, because I know a patch where it grows, so we'll see if we can find any. Look at that. Look! Hasn't bloomed yet. First flowers. You can eat those too. I'm also planning, if not already, do check out my Instagram. I'm planning to make a post about how you can avoid of not accidentally picking up lords and ladies, which is actually poisonous. And a lot of people have confusion between wild garlic and lords and ladies, which actually, if you really do see both of them in one place, you definitely can tell the difference, because lords and ladies it's completely different leaf. But again, if ever in doubt, leave it out. That looks amazing. My bag. Right, one down, and I'm guessing at least 2 more to go for wild kimchi. Another thing I thought I'm going to mention, if you do forage and if you're new to foraging, remember to not trespass because it's not nice as well. So lucky for me, I am on my landlord's land, and there's so much land in abundance, so therefore I'm very lucky where I can roam and explore. But it's always good to know where you're foraging if that's not private land. Literally nearly missed this by a second. I just suddenly noticed wild gooseberries, and wild gooseberries, obviously we all know you can eat them, but also wild gooseberry leaves when they're young, and lovely young shoots. They're literally so juicy and flavoursome, which you can add to your salads. And as I'm on a mission of creating wild greens kimchi, I thought, why not? Even with my garlicky hands, I could still smell it. can smell the beautiful, it's almost like gooseberry, but at the same time it's really, really fresh and floral. That definitely tastes like spring and gooseberries. Right, let's get a couple handfuls of these. I think the biggest mission is not to get stabbed on these prickly thorns. Here's one handful. As I was literally just picking some wild gooseberry leaves, I've spotted lords and ladies, and I mentioned that before, that you know, sometimes people do get confused and pick those by an accident. I'm going to make a post, as I mentioned before, on Instagram. If anyone doesn't know me, you can find me by Overland Forager, same name as the YouTube, and will try my best to explain how you can see the difference between these two, so you do not pick up that by an accident thinking that's wild garlic. But here's a little snippet. Have a look at these. I am not gonna touch them. Alright, here you go. We're hiding here behind, aren't we? Look at it. Look at the bottom of the leaves. See how much they're pointing out. It's almost like a heart upside down. There's some more at the back there. Look at that. Right. So the thing is about it, a lot of people, I've noticed there's a little bit of information out there online where a lot of people say like, oh, you could just snip it, you know, and smell it if it doesn't smell like wild garlic. Yes and no, but also I would completely avoid snipping it, because at the end of the day you get that on your hands and that is poisonous as well, so you don't want to rub that into your eye or anything like that. So and also sometimes lords and ladies, if they grow together next to wild garlic, they actually can smell like wild garlic as well, so it is quite important to know these things. But yeah, as I said, I'm going to put a post together. We'll try to put these two leaves together in one shot so you could actually see the difference between these, and once you know it, you will definitely be certain not to pick these. So aha, and look who we have here. We got some nettles. Lovely young shoots as well. Look, in comparison to the size of my hand, how little they are. Lovely. Here we go. Let's go just the very top of it, I think. And that hasn't stung me at all. It's usually the edges of the leaf. So, do you want to hear another crazy fun fact? I don't know if I've shared one already, but anyway, there's a stingy nettle leaf. It's actually, if you pick the leaf from the very bottom of the leaf, it does not sting. It's not too bad. But there's one crazy thing, one crazy Latvian has taught me a few years back, is stinging nettle bomb, which you basically scrunch it into a little bomb. Just like that. It's quite hard to do with one hand holding the phone and the other hand actually trying to create a nettle bomb. But scrunch it into a little bomb you've got at the back of your tooth and you can eat it. And well, a few things, obviously, you know, some of you probably know already the benefits of stinging nettles. They are so packed with iron, so basically this is your daily supplement or equivalent of it. I don't know how much, but anyway, every time when I'm out in the woodlands and if I see stinging nettles, I just usually scrunch up one leaf. And guess what? It tastes like sweet peas, and it does not sting your tongue. So, challenge for you. That'll do. Eureka! Haha! I was after cleavers and I just found cleavers, or as some may call it, sticky weed. I only need a handful, and so wonderful. They're only a couple inches tall, so they're very young. I think I just heard. Can you hear that? It's as it's spring, deers are actually barking. I guess you call that barking. Sometimes sounds like banshee. Right, there they are. Look at them. Hey, look at these. They're only a couple inches tall. Yeah, and all I need is a lovely, generous handful. And also over the cleavers, same as with most wild greens. You could just like eat them straight away or put them in your salads, stews, soups or anything like that. So look at them. They are delicious, especially when they're very young, so they're not too sticky, so not too prickly, so they would go very nicely in a salad. Or if they have matured to the full size, just pick the very top bits and top ends of it. I think I'm very satisfied with the amounts of all sorts of wild greens we have here. So now let's get back and start chopping and creating that kimchi. Meet my besties. They always welcome me home. Lovelies! Hello! How are you doing? Look at you all. Right, back at home with all the wild greens and I'm ready to start making that kimchi. It is one of my favourite recipes and I find it rather very easy to make. It doesn't require too much attention. First of all, what you need to do, you just need to chop everything, then cover with a plate or lid in a bowl for 1 hour, then you come back to it, have a little fiddle, I'll show you what's the fiddle, and then you leave it for 12 hours and the next day you pretty much finish off the process. So on the very first day what you need to do is just chop 3 ingredients. You would start by chopping all your wild greens, then you chop your carrots. I've got 2 carrots, chop 1 onion and also half the cabbage, about decent size like that. So we're going to chop all of these things and let's see where it takes us. Let's try a magic trick. All of that will miraculously be chopped in there. Wow, well, that was some wild chopping, wasn't it? Right, well, I didn't want to bore you guys with all the chopping and bits and pieces. It's just common sense, isn't it? Right, so everything's chopped up. And the next stage is to use sea salt. Right, so everything's been mixed with sea salt. I had to move on to a bigger bowl. Mental note for the next time if I'm making this amount. So now what we're going to do, we are going to leave this for 1 hour. I must say the whole house is smelling like wild garlic. It's such a strong smell. Right, so it's been 1 hour and kimchi's been sitting here and resting. So after 1 hour now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pour roughly about 1 litre of water on top of it, cover it with a plate and something heavy on top, and we're going to leave it for 12 hours and see what happens tomorrow. So the water has been poured. The next thing, we're just going to put some plates on and some weight and leave it. So simple as that. Water's on, put plate. As you can see, it's looking quite, there's a gap. Next thing what I'm going to do, my creative way, a bit of weight on top. That'll do just fine. And now we can forget about it for about 12 hours. So same time tomorrow, I'll have a look, I'll take the weight down and see where we're at. So 24 hours later, let's have a look. Ooh. Looks like it definitely has compacted all the way down. So now after 24 hours it's been sitting, the next job is to mush up all the spices, such as I got here 2 red chillies, about 4 garlic cloves and also a thumb size ginger. My thumb's quite big. So so I'm going to mash it up in a blender into a nice paste, and the next thing would be to separate all the vegetables from the liquid in 2 separate bowls, and then you'll see it'll all make sense in a second. Okay, but first let's mash up all the spices. When it comes to spices, it really doesn't matter, but basically what we're trying to achieve here is this nice spicy kick. So if you want, you can use chili seeds if you like it hotter. I'm going to remove chili seeds because I actually prefer more gingery hint. That is why I've chosen quite a nice size of a ginger. And yeah, but if you feel like ginger does not agree with you and you prefer more chili or garlicky, go ahead, you know. But basically you saw the amounts roughly for the amount of cabbage and everything else. The orange goodness. Wahaha. I'm not gonna lie, my eyes are actually watering. This stuff is just so spicy. Well, I guess if you got blocked nose, it might work as that as well. Anyway, so we got that. Now the next thing is to separate all the vegetables from the juice, or the brine as you call it. So let's separate those two. So here we are. I just basically tipped all the liquid into here, and now the next part is we're going to mix this into the veggies. Magic trick. Boom. Now for the favorite part and the final part, pretty much we're going to put these veggies into the jars, and the next task is to stuff them right down so there's no air pockets, and just leave a little bit space at the top of the jar so we can pour the liquid on top. And then we're going to leave that for another 3 days in the room temperature, not in direct sunlight but somewhere nice and light. Well, that was a job and a half. Stuffing it does require quite a lot of patience, so I tried my best to stuff it all the way down so there's no air pockets. And now what we're going to do, we're going to pour this lovely brine on top of all my jars. So I ended up with basically, it's about just over a kilo of the total volume, minus the liquid. Right, let's pour this stuff on top. Also, I just realized right in the beginning, I should have probably said, I usually keep about 3 or 4 cabbage leaves spare just at the end, or I'm going to shred them in little pieces, because now that all the brine is at the top, and the best way to ensure that everything's submerged, we're just going to put some leaves on top. So after a couple of days we can just remove those leaves, and we know that with kimchi every single bit of those veggies are basically now submerged and tasting really delicious. It's looking like that. You can see how much brine in each jar we have. Right. Now the final task, I'm going to put lids on, and what we're going to do, as I mentioned before, we're going to leave for about 3 days. If you like it even spicier, you can even leave to 5 days. So 3 to 5 days. You leave it outside of the fridge, so in a room temperature. Let it ferment, let the magic begin, and in about 3 to 5 days we're gonna have our first taster. If you like it, then yeah, put it into the fridge and it's gonna stay there for very long. reason why I went for 1 big and 3 smaller jars, it's just a habit I got myself into it, because I always feel like I like the big jar for myself, and the other little ones are always going to be gifts to give out to my friends, family and neighbours. So it's been 3 days and I think it's time that we're going to test it. In this time, it's unbelievable how much weather has changed. From plus 17 degrees, we're at +1. So nearly close to 0 temperatures. It's really, really crazy. I am so excited. I've been looking at it for 3 days and I think I am really hungry. So let's dig in. Here's my big majestic jar. All for me. Voila. Let's have a look. Officially, I think we can discard these. That smells amazing. Woo! I got the weapon. Let's dig in. Normally I keep it for 3 days, but you never know. I definitely can taste ginger, chili. I think that's really good. That's really warming and can really taste the wild garlic as well. I'll get another bit. That's really good. Definitely a good call of getting on a big size of jar. All for me. It officially can go in a fridge and it's gonna stay there for, it can stay up to 2 months. Once it's open, I usually try to consume it within a month, but in my opinion it doesn't last longer than 2 weeks because it's so delicious. Another information I forgot to mention, when you put your kimchi for fermentation, don't put the lids on too tight because sometimes you still have some gas, so basically air is trying to come up to the surface and you just don't want those lids to pop off. So I usually try to put them on not too tight, so basically a little bit loose so the air can escape easily. And another thing, as you can see here, I got a plate underneath for a reason, because the juice does comes up and you don't want all your surfaces covered in that brine and smell and everything. So anyway, just a little tip if you're doing it for the very first time. Anyway, so why do I love kimchi so much? There's so many reasons, and honestly, 1, it's really delicious. 2, when it's homemade, you know what goes into it, and also it is so packed with natural probiotics, which are obviously, as you know, that is really good for your gut flora, and especially after illness or after heavy use of antibiotics or anything like that. Honestly, like probiotics and kimchi really does help you to repopulate that gut flora, and therefore it's #1 thing I really love to have in my fridge. And as it's spring, therefore we have so many wild greens growing around and also throughout the year, and why not to spice it up as well. Another reason usually when I use kimchi is if I have blocked sinuses, and I generally feel that it really does help me if I have literally a mouthful of that, and it does really unblock the sinuses, because as you saw what goes into it, you've got ginger, you got chillies, so, and also wild garlic. So it's really, really good. It's very, very warming, and after these 3 days already, I just had a couple mouthfuls and I feel already the warmth in my chest, so to me that is done. But as I said, you can modify it and change the recipe to your liking. There's just the base. I'm also going to pop this recipe into the video description below, and yes, have a read, give it a go, try it, let me know. Also, if you have any questions, do pop them down as well in the comments section and I'll try my best to answer them all. And again, yes, do give this video a like, subscribe if not already. It really does help the channel, and I'm really looking forward to see you in the next one. Who knows, I've got a lot of plans and there's so many things growing in the forest at the moment. I'm so excited. Anyway, see you in the next one. Look after yourself. Adios.